A Peterborough councillor says something has to be done about the number of dog attacks in the city. Liberal Democrat Julia Davidson says far too many incidents have been reported in her Gunthorpe ward. She's calling for tighter measures to be enforced, as Hannah Olsen reports.
Councillor Davidson is urging the council to deliver more education to dog owners. She'd like people to enrol in lessons and then be provided with a certificate stating they are a responsible owner. The Lib Dem would also like to see someone dedicated to the issue and is suggesting vets, police, dog owners and Peterborough City Council could look at introducing fixed penalties for dogs that have been identified as being a problem in the past.
So there should be tighter controls over problem dogs and their owners in Peterborough, according to a city councillor. Liberal Democrat Julia Davidson, who represents Gunthorpe, is concerned about the number of dog-on-dog attacks and other antisocial issues resulting from irresponsible dog ownership. She's urging the City Council to deliver more education to dog owners and says there also need to be tougher fines for dogs who are already known to cause problems. Our reporter John Devine is in Peterborough with Steve this morning. John, good morning.
Good morning, Dottie. Yeah, as you say, I'm in the front room with Steve, his Peterborough home, and of course the dog here, Sam, is a lurcher. 4 years old, sandy colour, sitting on his dog bed and just chewing and licking his bone. He seems happy enough at the moment, so he looks contented, Steve. But what actually happened in your case?
Yes, we was walking down on our normal route, and Sam was on the lead, and as we passed the house, the door was open, and out come a German Shepherd and just attacked my dog. It caused him quite a lot of distress. He had chest injuries and he had to go to the vet, which cost £110. The owner did reimburse the fees on that, but he also admitted that his dog does not get on well with other dogs and that he should have done something about it.
And how did you feel at the time?
It was quite distressing because no dog owner likes to see their dog being attacked, and it was very traumatic for him. Yeah.
And how was the owner? Apologetic to what had happened?
Yes, the owner was very, very apologetic. I have to say, credit where it's due. He did, pay the vet fees, so that was, very much appreciated.
And he looks okay now. Did you realise at the time he'd suffered any sort of physical injuries?
Not at the time. It wasn't actually till we got home. After about an hour, he started getting extremely restless, and that's when I found the injuries on his chest.
And you said the £110 vet bill, and the owner actually paid towards that, or paid it all?
The owner actually paid that full in cost.
Yeah. And has it happened before to you and Sam?
Yes. About a couple of years ago, he got attacked in the park again. Again, the owner admitted responsibility and also paid the vet fees.
Yeah. Has it made him a bit of a nervous dog now, perhaps, not so outgoing?
Luckily, he's of a very, very laid-back disposition, and he seems to be very much okay, even with other dogs still.
Yeah, and you don't mind going on dog walks, or does it put you on?
It does make you very, very wary when you're going on routes.
Yeah.
Because of what's happened.
Yeah. We've got a little dog, and if we ever see a dog coming towards us without a lead, the dog's running free, you always think to yourself, how's that dog going to behave? You never know, do you?
No, you don't. Exactly.
No. And what do you want to see done about this then, Stephen, yourself?
Well, I contacted the police, and they said that nothing could be done because it was a dog-on-dog attack. I then got in touch with the dog warden, who also said nothing can be done. So that is when I contacted Councillor Julie Davidson, who kindly paid me a home visit and looked at Ludo's injuries. She then took up the matter and found that back in 2014 the government introduced CPNs, which is Community Protection Notices, which covers dog bows, and local councils are just not enforcing this.
We're going to talk to her very shortly indeed. So will you be taking Sam out again later today for a little walk?
Yes, certainly we'll be taking him out. He loves going his walk, and so far he still loves meeting other dogs. I'm very lucky on that, because there are other dog owners out there that have had dog attacks and their dogs have been absolutely brilliant, and then once they've had a dog attack, that dog's then been traumatised and their personality has changed because of it.
Thanks for talking to us today, Steve.
Thank you.
John Devine there talking to Steve in Peterborough, whose lurcher, Sam, has been attacked a number of times. He mentioned Councillor Julia Davidson, and we can speak to her now. Lib Dem Councillor for Gunthorpe in Peterborough. Hi, Julia.
Good morning.
So is Steve's case the only story you've heard of this kind of thing?
Sadly, Steve's case isn't. It's not an isolated concern, and I'm quite worried about this because obviously since hearing of Stephen's plight and the scenario relating to his dog, several people have contacted me regarding similar instances and found that they weren't supported when they tried to report it.
So what do you mean by that? What should have happened in your view?
Well, basically, if there is no, because of the nature of the incident, whether it be their dog was attacked or they felt that they was helpless in a situation because they were confronted by that scenario, apologies, when they tried to report it to the local dog warden, they found that they weren't being helped or, in fact, said, well, what do you want us to do about it? Now, I don't know how accurate that was because I wasn't there, but I can only take on their concerns and raise them and trying to get some awareness in regard to this.
And your focus, as I understand it, Julia, is on education for dog owners. What exactly do you want the City Council to do?
Well, basically, I'm asking or proposing that the council address the concerns and raise awareness for dog owners and also the dog warden, because it appears that the dog warden have very limited powers on what they can enforce, or indeed if they are aware that there are any powers that they can enforce.
So what do you think that the dog warden should be able to do? You know, say they hear of a dog-on-dog attack.
Well, subject to the nature of the attack, then the dog warden can generate, say, potentially looking at a list, is this a known dog on a register? Register, for example, has reports gone into a vet before about a particular dog in the area? More can be done. I don't think having the lackadaisical approach of there's nothing we can do and the police are not acting on it also is sufficient. As Stephen's just said, that dogs are left traumatised, if not just the dogs, also the dog owners, and if they're being compliant by having their dogs on leads, etc., when they're out in the general public, then they're abiding and complying by what regulatory dog laws are. In some instances, this is not being rolled out for all dog owners.
So you think that the dog warden needs to have some kind of record of which dogs are routine offenders. Tell us about the education programme that you've got in mind.
Well, if this situation could be reviewed and look at assessing, I would like to see Cabinet for Strategy and Resources or Scrutiny Committee to address the issue and providing proper signage or reviewed and look at introducing fixed penalties to issue any of or anyone breaching those orders. In terms of education, I think one of the an email to all the councillors. I mentioned this at the last full council meeting, and unfortunately the cabinet member did not give me a conclusive response to my questions. So I decided to send an email out to all the councillors just to get a response on this, and Councillor Seaton did come back to me thanking me for the email in the first instance and then asking me what I would want to do with the fixed penalty.
Forgive me, Julia, just to come back to the education programme that you have proposed, as I understand it, what exactly would that be?
Well, that would be to educate dog owners and provide them the tools of knowing what they should be doing and how they should be complying to legislation.
So this would be classes?
Absolutely. Say, for instance, if the dog warden identifies a dog who is antisocial, and by implementing or enforcing a fixed penalty fee, they can use that funds to educate, retrain, provide further information, current legislation to enable them to be responsible dog owners.
And would those classes be compulsory or would they be optional?
I would say they should be compulsory because 80% of home owners have got dogs, and what I'm saying here is it's not a case of having
Is that really right? 80% of homeowners have dogs?
That's correct. That is correct. And 1 in 5 dog bites were committed by the pit bull breed, and 80% of dog-related incidents are other type of dog-related cases. So, we are, apparently, the number of reported incidents that have seen an increase in Peterborough, we are placed 3rd in a list in the country of being 60 incidents recorded in the PE postcode in the last 12 months.
Julia, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you for your time. We're going to have to leave it there. Julia Davidson there, a councillor representing the Gunthorpe ward. Also talking this morning about dog control. We heard earlier from a Peterborough City councillor who's urging the council to do more to educate dog owners to be responsible and to have more control over their pets after seeing a rise in dog attacks in her Gunthorpe ward. She's calling for a dog specialist in the city to deal with cases as they happen. She wants tougher fines for owners whose dogs pose a threat, and she also thinks that lessons should be introduced so that owners can be certified as responsible. We've heard from Catherine Warboys on this, who says, "Morning, I grew up with dogs, I have dogs, and I worked at Wood Green. It's not the dogs, it's the people that are allowed to have them that's the problems. Dogs need to be taught, and that's the owner's responsibility." We're joining me now, Janessa Springle, who's the dog warden for East Cambridgeshire. Hi, Janessa.
Hello.
Are you hearing of more dog-on-dog attacks in your neck of the woods?
I work for East Cambridgeshire, and I think we have seen a slight rise in the past few years in dog incidents and dog attacks. But I think that's maybe because many dog attacks weren't reported to the council before then. People weren't really sure what to do if their dog did get attacked.
And what can you do if your dog gets bitten by another dog?
It is very difficult if it is just a dog-on-dog attack. But there are things that the council can do now. Local authorities and the police have had some more powers now to deal with dog incidents, particularly repeat offenders. We can start issuing some notices to stipulate certain conditions that the owners must follow with their dogs, which could include the dog being on a lead or muzzled when in public, taking the dog to training classes, just things to try and stop the attacks happening in the future.
And do you think that dog behaviour, excuse me, do you think that dog behaviour is generally getting worse? Are people training their pets less?
It's hard to say really with training. I think people are taking their dogs to training classes. And those people that are going to be responsible dog owners will do that anyway. I think the risk is with training classes that other people that are not responsible going to go to these training classes anyway. And I think that's where the problem is. It's just sort of a vicious circle, really. Yeah, so even if, as Julia, the councillor in Peterborough, was saying, you make classes compulsory for all dog owners, there will be some people who won't go anyway, and they're the ones who are maybe more likely to have a badly behaved dog. Yes, I think that's exactly right. And I think the problem with it being compulsory is also that training classes can be quite expensive to get an accredited trainer. It can be quite expensive, and not everybody has that money to take their dog to dog training. No, sure. Janessa, great to hear from you. Thank you. We've also got Wendy on the line. Wendy Kruger is a dog behaviour and training specialist at Wood Green Animal Shelter in Manchester. Hi, Wendy.
Good morning.
I suppose you're the ones who pick up the pieces when an owner decides that their dog is too unruly.
Yes, we deal daily with. We have an intake of dogs that whose behaviour is perhaps unsuitable for the home it's living in. That doesn't mean it's unsuitable to live in a different home in a different environment, but we take in dogs whose behaviour is unsuitable to live with the owner they're currently with. But I also deal with an awful lot of responsible dog owners whose dog has behaved in a way that is distressing the owner or distressing the community, and those owners come forward and ask for help, and we're very lucky these days that we're able to give free help to owners who want to solve their problems.
So what kind of problems might people come to you with?
Well, just this week I've had 2 owners whose dogs have nipped children, and 2 owners who have dogs that argue and fight with other dogs.
And you can do something about that?
We can certainly give them some help and advice to help them solve the problem. Really, the onus is on the owner, and with dog-to-dog aggression, it's not always aggression, it's sometimes frustration because they want to play, but with what looks to us like aggression, it's a long process. It's not something that the owner you can't flick a switch and there's a miracle cure within one session. It really is a case of the owner changing some of the behaviour that they're doing out on a walk, and engaging better with their dog, and making sure their dog is safe.
And do you think dog owners these days, are you seeing these problems more commonly? Are more people taking on dogs without really knowing what they're taking on and what they need to do to create a well-behaved dog?
Yeah, yes, actually, that's broadly what I'm seeing. I would say in most of the cases that I deal with, exercise is a factor, and when I say exercise is a factor, in most cases it's lack of exercise.
Yeah.
So the owners aren't managing to meet the dog's needs for its type and age.
Which leads, of course, to frustration from the dog. It means they've got energy that they need to burn off somehow.
Yeah. And the other thing to remember is, as a society, we're more cautious these days, and therefore we don't allow our dogs to interact with other dogs off lead. And if we don't allow them to interact with dogs off lead, then they start to become frustrated about not interacting, and then that ends with aggression or what looks like aggression. And then they're no longer allowed off lead, so they're getting less exercise and they're getting less social learning.
And these classes that you offer, Wendy, you can do them for free, can you?
Yes, we do dog training classes, and those aren't free, and anybody is welcome to come to our dog training classes, but one-to-one advice is free. Okay. So if your dog has a behaviour problem and you want to keep it, then we offer free advice.
Wendy,
and anyone that's interested could have a look at our website, and it's the pet support on the website, and the website is www.woodgreen.org.uk. What I would also like to say, if I might, is we have a family dog workshop this Sunday, which really is designed to prevent bites, and it shows the family what dogs need and helps them learn how dogs behave, what they need, and what the flashpoints for aggression are. And that's free.
Really, really crucial if you've got children or if other members of your family have children and they're going to come into contact with your dog.